I work in a construction company where I hold a managerial position. You could say I'm an elite. I was recognized for my achievements early on, and it's been a fast track to success ever since. Most of my colleagues are older than me.
Wow, Tyler, you're getting promoted again.
Next up is department manager, right? The youngest ever.
Man, how high up are you planning to go?
I hear such comments from them. However, as I climb the career ladder over older employees, I also hear whispers of jealousy. That's why I'm always mindful of how I appear to my older colleagues. Still, I've always believed that results are everything. At the same time, I struggle with understanding people who don't perform well. For today, I called out one of my colleagues after spotting a mistake. Carlos, you got this record wrong. I talked to Carlos Oakley in front of me. I pointed this out before, why do you keep making the same mistake? Despite my words, he just scratched his head nonchalantly and looked away, muttering.
Yeah, I got it.
He's been a slacker from the start. Seeing him like that only increased my frustration. We're on a tight deadline, get it done sooner.
Wait, I've got a different task that needs doing now. Can it wait till tomorrow?
What are you talking about? I'm saying this because the deadline is tomorrow. Although I usually keep my emotions in check, I find myself thrown off balance by him. I can't trust someone who's always so carefree and lacks responsibility. Fine. I'll do it myself.
Are you sure? But I was gonna do it right after I finished the other thing.
It would take you all night. I can finish it much faster.
Oh, is that so? Thanks, man.
Somehow, Carlos seemed pleased. It felt like he had dumped his work on me, but I ended up taking it on. This is how it always goes. I tend to do the work of my colleagues myself. Ideally, I should delegate more as a manager, but it's hard to ask the older colleagues, and doing it myself is faster. As a result, I often end up standing out for individual play rather than teamwork. Still, I can't help but think that I'm the best person for the job. This often means I come home late. I'm home.
Hi, honey.
It was late at night, but my wife Natalie was still up. She greeted me with a smile.
How's it going? You're late again today.
Yeah, I'm beat.
Wait a moment. I'll reheat the dinner for you.
Actually, she works at the same place as I do. Therefore, she understands why I come home late. At the same time, she knows I'm pushing myself too hard.
You're great at what you do, but maybe you should pay more attention to those around you.
She said that, preparing my dinner.
I think it's okay to rely on others more.
That's impossible. I'm disliked by many because I'm on the fast track. Nobody wants to help someone like me.
Really? I don't think that's the case.
She is probably just being kind with her words. When you're on the front line of work, there are times when you can't afford to pay attention to those behind you. Even if my colleagues can't keep up, I have no choice but to move forward.
But, if anything happens, make sure you only consult with me, okay?
Her words made me relax my tense cheeks. I'm well aware that I'm stubborn, and sometimes I find this way of living to be tough. But, when I return home, Natalie is there. The reason I can keep pushing myself, even when I'm tired, is because of my wife's presence. Though we work at the same place as a married couple, she is the only one who supports me when I'm about to fall. I believe she alone is enough of an ally for me. One day, I was called by Jake, the director. He seemed quite irritated, which made me nervous. However, what Jake said was unexpected.
Actually, for the upcoming joint competition, our company has decided to go with Carlos's plan.
Carlos's plan? I was shocked. I had poured more passion into the joint competition, which also had a prize, believing I would be chosen as the representative. That's surprising. To think that the careless he was chosen. I try to laugh off my frustration, but Jake snaps back
The careless one is you.
and slams a bundle of papers against my chest.
This is Carlos's proposal. Take a good look.
Stunned by Jake's sudden scolding, I followed his instructions and looked through Carlos's proposal. Upon seeing it, I exclaimed, "What? This is the exact same plan as mine."
Exactly. What a mess you've made.
How dare he? He must have stolen my idea.
What are you talking about? You're the one who plagiarized his plan.
What? How did it come to that?
All the proposals are processed by me. I clearly remember. Carlos had submitted his proposal days before the deadline, while you submitted yours on the day of it.
In other words, Jake's reasoning was that since Carlos had submitted his proposal first, it was me who might have plagiarized. While I understood his point, it was completely baseless from my perspective. The reason my proposal submission was delayed was due to chasing after mistakes made by Carlos. I tried to explain that to Jake several times, but he wouldn't listen. This is bad. Things have taken a terrible turn. I was severely shaken. Given that I always acted calmly, my panic must have seemed quite suspicious to others.
Did you hear that Tyler stole Carlos's idea?
Looks like it's for real.
Lies were becoming truth. Carlos was watching that unfold with a smirk. He had stolen my proposal from my desk and submitted it to Jake before me. I was completely framed. However, since I often stood out for individual play, I had no colleagues who could become allies for consultation. As for older colleagues, they were same. Being usually cocky made it even harder to seek advice. As a result, the plan I conceived was credited to Carlos, and he was selected to compete in the competition. It was the best proposal I had ever devised. In the end, Carlos won the competition. He took home the prize money, and was promoted. As for me, I was taken off the fast track and chased down from my current position. It was a complete role reversal. Honestly, it was tough. It was sad. But I didn't want to give up. Everyone doubted my plagiarism, but Natalie was the only one who believed in me.
You wouldn't do something like that, I know it.
Those words almost brought me to tears. From the beginning, when I struggled with social interactions, she was always there to talk to me. I was happy for her care and eventually fell in love with her, proposing because I wanted to be with her forever. Yes, I've always strived for her sake. Therefore, despite the hardship, I believed that a chance would come around eventually and continued to dedicate myself to work. But then, an incident that pushed me even closer to despair occurred. One day, Carlos called me out. As he said, in his usual frivolous tone,
Hey Tyler, could you divorce your wife right now for me?
I almost punched him. Are you kidding me?
No, I'm serious. It is for real. Actually, I've been meeting up with Natalie quite often recently.
As if to say he showed me the message exchanges with Natalie.
Look.
It wasn't fake. They were genuinely from Natalie, leaving me in shock.
Natalie seemed pretty into me, you know? Guess it makes sense for her to switch to me rather than sticking with a loser like you, given her future prospects. Can't really blame her.
He spoke with a smirk, but I was too shocked by the revelation of Natalie and Carlos meeting up to respond. Natalie said she believed in me. That means she should know I didn't steal the proposal. Yet, she's having an affair with Carlos. Were her words of belief a lie? I was too dazed to think clearly when Carlos said,
Well then, that's settled.
And left, patting my shoulder. I couldn't concentrate at work afterward. However, a resolve began to grow within me. Maybe it's time to quit my job. And to divorce Natalie as well. When I got home, I immediately called Natalie.
What happened? You said you had something important to talk about.
Natalie, let's divorce right now.
What? What's gotten into you all of a sudden?
I told her that Carlos informed me about her affair with him. She seemed a bit shocked. But you know, I'm not really angry. I laughed self-deprecatingly. Being good at my job was pretty much the only thing I had going for me. And now, I've been demoted to just another employee, without a title. Plus, with the plagiarism suspicions, it's impossible for me to rise in this company again. Carlos is on a whole different level. It's understandable for you to leave me. I was surprised at my own defeatist attitude. At that moment, I was utterly disheartened. If you're interested in Carlos, you should be with him. I'll resign so I won't get in your way. Please be happy together. As my vision blurred, a tear rolled down my cheek. Thinking of parting with Natalie was heartbreaking. However, she exploded in anger,
Do not be silly.
making my tears retreat. Her face turned red, and she looked at me with tearful eyes. But, you were secretly meeting Carlos, weren't you? When I said that, she took several deep breaths to calm herself down.
Yes, I should have explained that beforehand. I'm sorry. But it's different. My meetings with Carlos were to clear your name.
What do you mean?
You always said you didn't plagiarize. Of course, I believed you. But proving who plagiarized the proposal first, you or Carlos, is difficult now. So, I thought of another way. And this is it.
Saying that, she pulled out a voice recorder. She pressed the play button on the voice recorder. Then, a man's laughter could be heard. It was immediately clear that the voice belonged to Carlos.
The plan this time was devised by Jake and me, just to frame your idiot husband who's always acting so high and mighty. I deliberately gave Tyler incomplete data. As expected, he took the bait. Then I copied the proposal from his desk and submitted it to Jake. Since Jake isn't on it, no matter what Tyler says, the plagiarism will be reported as his doing. This is the whole truth. Oh man, it worked out too well. Hilarious. Our company's upper management is so gullible.
The recording ended there. It was revealing the entire truth.
I've been working to get this truth out of Carlos. I'm really glad I could get this as evidence. Although, when I heard this, I had to keep a smile and nod, but I was boiling inside.
Natalie bit her lower lip as if remembering her frustration. I had no idea she had been working so hard behind the scenes, nor that Jake was involved with Carlos. Come to think of it, I had heard rumors that Jake found my ambition to surpass him annoying. They might have collaborated on this plan because their interests aligned in framing me. I couldn't help but wryly smile at just how disliked I apparently was.
To obtain this evidence, I approached Carlos multiple times. I even went as far as saying I wanted to divorce Tyler as soon as possible, trying to make Carlos happy. I thought he might slip up and mention his scheme. But I always felt guilty. It was really hard to say bad things about you, which I had never even considered before, in front of him.
Tears overflowed from Natalie's eyes. She went to such lengths for me.
I never once thought I wanted to divorce you.
She broke down in tears with saying that, and I hugged her. She was indeed on my side. Just knowing that felt like a ray of hope. Thank you. Thank you very much. Later, Natalie and I took the voice recorder to the head of the department to report everything. Upon hearing it, she was distressed.
This is so bad. Jake was adamant that Tyler plagiarized. We had doubts about the talented you doing such a thing, but if Jake, who received the proposal, said so, we believed it must be true. Tyler, we've treated you unfairly, and for that, I'm deeply sorry.
She apologized to me. In moments like those, meeting someone who could admit their faults sincerely felt truly fortunate. She then promised appropriate actions against Jake and Carlos. A week later, they were dismissed. They claimed the voice recorder was fabricated, but the department head and the executives didn't believe them. There was more to the story. It was discovered that Jake and Carlos had been inflating company performance figures in collaboration. Either way, dismissal was inevitable for them. However, clearing my name of the plagiarism accusation was undoubtedly thanks to Natalie. Thanks to her, I was able to make a comeback as a department manager. The proposal that was initially credited to Carlos was rightfully attributed back to me, and the turmoil seemed to have settled. Yet, the stigma of plagiarism, despite being false, lingered around me. I couldn't perform at work as I used to and kept making mistakes. I felt down about it. However, I was approached by the older colleagues I had awkwardly avoided talking to.
Hey, Tyler, if you're having trouble with anything, just let us know. You should have told us about the plagiarism suspicion.
I had always thought they resented me, though they all showed me smiles.
We recognize your efforts, you know?
Lately, you haven't been yourself.
For now, let us handle this work.
They offered their help. I had assumed they disliked me. But they actually acknowledged my hard work behind my back. Regarding the plagiarism accusation, they suspected Carlos was the real plagiarist. Since I hadn't shared anything, they were confused about the truth. I regretted not consulting them sooner. I may not be reliable, but please, continue to support me. When I said that, they all responded loudly with a yes. This is how I learned to rely on my colleagues. Being here today is thanks to my wife Natalie and my workplace friends. I've been reminded of the importance of opening up to others. Focused too much on work, I hadn't been able to rely on anyone, resulting in a lack of communicative relationships. I'm deeply grateful to Natalie for her support behind the scenes, and aim to create a workplace where we can work together as a team. I plan to repay Natalie for her faith and fight for my innocence for the rest of my life. If she ever faces any trouble, I'm prepared to protect her against the world.